So let's talk about a way forward. How the hell do we unscramble this egg? Like, honestly, let's put aside. Okay, not to say that we're not going to hold people accountable. Absolutely, people need to be held accountable. But let's put aside everything that's happened and just accept the reality of where we are. How do we come back from the edge of this cliff? What is there a viable pathway back?
I think so, but it's going to take a lot of work. And it just means simply that people like the three of us and everybody else out there that is trying to do their bit, it just keeps working and slogging away to bring it back. Matt talked about those two coppers that walked around the playground the other day. They probably were there desperate to have some positive engagement and hope that some kids would want to engage with them. I have no doubt that the police, the frontline police en masse, will jump at the opportunity to re-engage with the community, to start building relations. The pressure needs to be placed on the people in power. Our leaders need to feel the pressure to take the responsibility. They also need to be held to account, absolutely. But they need to lead from the front and show how to bridge the gap and to heal and to have unity. And if they do that, and look, I'll be frank, I don't think that we have space for the Andrews government to do that. I think that it needs to be someone else. But that needs to occur. And Victoria Police will always be Victoria Police regardless of who's in power. But I think that Victoria Police will have greater capacity to heal the divide under a different leadership in Victoria.
Yeah, and I think I agree with pretty much all of that, and I think there has to be a separation of powers as such. There can't be, you can't have a police force that, so you elect a government and there's got to be an opposition, which I don't think we truly have in Victoria. So you've got to have an opposition, and then the police force does what they think is right by the law. Now, if the government is stopping the police force from talking out against what the government is putting down as an edict, like this is what it is and this is the way it's got to be, there has to be the separation of powers. So whether that's a Shane Patton or whoever it is saying, I understand that this is what you guys are putting out there. And I saw an article yesterday, I think it was, where the police are saying that they want to work out a way that protests can be held through pandemics, but they're speaking to the government about it. I don't think it should be a matter of speaking to the government about how to do it. The police should say, we're putting together a framework where protests can happen peacefully. Like, it doesn't make sense that you're questioning and asking the government for permission to be able to do this to keep the people safe on both sides, because we want everyone safe. Myself personally, I want no division. I don't want division. We're not different people. We all go to bed and put on our pajamas and have our glass of wine and we all sleep and we wake up.
We don't all put on pajamas.
Yeah, well, I can't speak for you, but like, we all breathe the same air, whether it's masked or not. And we can't have this division. We need to fix it. And I just hope more people speak. Just speak. If something's wrong, speak up. Say something. Morally, if your gut feels it's wrong, you trust that gut instinct and say something.
Absolutely.
I think for me, there's three things that I personally believe need to happen if healing is going to come. My concern is, and what I don't want to have happen, is that we end up with my entire generation having to die out before reconciliation can be made. I think that's going to lead to really bad outcomes over the next 60 years in this state. But I think three things need to happen. There are people, and I would say the people at the top, and I mean politically, but also unfortunately within the police as well, because I think that Shane Patton and Luke Cornelius and others have failed in their duty of care, in my personal opinion. But there are a number of people that need to be held accountable at the top, and then there are a number of individual officers that need to be held accountable and need to be seen to being held accountable for their actions and what they've done individually. I think that's number one of three things that have to happen. Number two is exactly what you're saying, Matt. This idea that the Victoria Police work for the government is completely wrong. The elected politicians make laws. The police then apply those laws, and the whole point of the separation is they apply them equally across everybody without any reference to politics. The government should never be allowed to meddle in operational matters for the police. It's not their job. And anytime a police minister who is an elected member of the government comes to the police commissioner and says, hey, can you do this thing for me? The police commissioner should tell them to F off in no uncertain terms. That is not their role. It is not an appropriate use of that power. We need to redraw that line, because whether true or not, there is certainly an appearance and a perception, and I think it is true, that the police have become political. They are now operating at a political level rather than an unbiased law enforcement level. That's the second thing that's got to happen. Reintroduce that separation. The third thing that I think, in my opinion, has to happen, and I appreciate your comments on this, Krystle, because you've helped me to refine my own thinking on this, is we need to see a charter, a commitment being made by every police officer that they will speak up, and there needs to be a genuine mechanism, not a little bureaucratic thing off the side that ends somebody's career. There needs to be a genuine way for a police officer to be able to say to their superiors, as an officer, in good faith and in good conscience, I believe that we are the ones doing the wrong thing in this situation. And for that to actually be heard. Now, if they get it wrong, then okay, they suffer the consequences of getting it wrong, but there's got to be a mechanism by which they can do that. And that's got to be culturally acceptable within the police force for members to do that. Yeah. And I think if all three of those things happened, the top are held accountable, the police are politically removed from the influence of the government of the day, and individual members have to make a choice. Either you agree to and accept this charter that places upon you a moral responsibility to speak up if you believe it's necessary, or if you don't want to agree to that, you may find another career. Thank you for your service. Okay, I think it's got to be that black and white. And if those three things happen, I think we can move on. I think we can heal.
And I think that all three things are achievable by a change of government. And I say that because, so let's address the first issue that you said. Sorry, and I've already forgotten. I think it's
no. So holding the leadership accountable,
holding the leadership accountable,
and
right?
Police leadership accountable.
So.
Yeah.
Holding them accountable, the Labor government isn't going to hold itself accountable.
Well, just look at IBAC. Look at IBAC.
Exactly. A change of leadership would do that. Secondly, do we need to look at the way in which the Chief Commissioner and certain command roles are offered to people in the current structure, so that, there is this, I'm in power over here in Labor, I'm going to appoint all of these police over here. So, there is this melding.
Should not be that way.
Do we need to review the mechanisms in which the way senior police officers are hired? That addresses that issue, and you would do that, I think, through a change of government. The second issue, remind me.
So that was the second one. Is separating.
That was the second one. Oh, look, see, I've already got there.
And the third one
is the Victoria Police Act 2013. That's the new code that we operate under. A simple change to or a bill to amend the Victoria Police Act to place a charter within that, as you stipulated, is something that I think a change of government would do, because I don't believe that Labor would be in a position to do that. So basically, we need a change of leadership from the top to affect those changes.